हेलो स्टूडेंट्स, आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार. यू आर मोस्ट वेलकम टू योर ई-लर्निंग क्लासेस and I am your English teacher, Mrs. Kavita Upadhyay. Today I shall be teaching you English prose. The first chapter of your prose book is A Girl with a Basket. Hope you will enjoy learning with me. Now let us know about the author. The author of this lesson, A Girl with a Basket, is William C. Douglas. William C. Douglas was a judge of the Supreme Court of America, and he came to India in 1950 after we became free. And Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was the Prime Minister at that time, and he particularly recounts his experience with refugees in this lesson, refugee children. Who were these refugees? These were the people who had left Pakistan after the partition of India because they were afraid for their life and their property. Their property, so they had to leave there only and come to India. But for the sake of their life, they ran from there. They fled to India. And what was their plight? What were their difficulties? He has explained to you in this lesson. Apart from that, he has also in detail described the scenes and sights that he saw when he visited India. Now let us come to the lesson. I had left New Delhi for the Himalayas. I was going as far as Bareilly by train and then by car to Ranikhet. Now he started his journey from New Delhi and his destination was Himalayas. How he was going there? He was going from New Delhi to Bareilly by train, and then he would take a car to Ranikhet. And Ranikhet was, what was Ranikhet? An old British Army hill station located on a 6,000-foot ridge opposite a 120-mile stretch of snow-capped Himalayas. Ranikhet was an old British hill station which was built especially for army people, those officers who were serving British Army. It was located on a 6,000-foot ridge. Ridge is a hill, a narrow hill which was 6,000 foot high, and it was located opposite a 120-mile stretch of snow-capped Himalayas. Snow-capped means covered with snow, wearing the cap of snow. You can imagine if Himalaya is wearing some peaks are wearing the cap of snow, that means they are covered with snow. So it stretched for 120 miles right in front of Ranikhet. The train was slow. It was moving slowly and it stopped at all the way stations. Like a passenger train of today, not a mail or express train. It was stopping at all the stations on its way. At every stop, I swung open the door of my compartment and walked the platform. At every station, I opened the door of my compartment and got down, alighted, and started walking on the platform. Now let's come to the next slide. The platforms were packed with people: Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus, soldiers, merchants, priests, porters, beggars, hawkers. What kind of people were there on the platforms which he met? Whom he met rather? They were Sikhs, Muslims and Hindus. Mark the use of semicolon after Hindus. The basis of classification of people is changing after this. First, he classifies the people on the basis of their religion, Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus. Then he puts a semicolon. Now, the basis of classification is their profession: soldiers, merchants, priests, porters, beggars, hawkers. Soldiers, you know. Merchants, traders. Priests, pujari, purohit. Porters, coolies. Beggars, and hawkers. Hawkers means vendors, those who are selling goods and things. Almost everyone was barefoot. Barefoot means not wearing any footwear. Almost everyone was there barefoot. Almost nobody was wearing any footwear and dressed in loose white garments. Garments means clothes. They were wearing loose white clothes. I would ask at least 3 people before I could find one who spoke English. I would ask at least 3 people. He wanted to talk to people. So he started asking people while he was walking the platform. He would ask people whether they knew English. After asking 3 people, he would find one who spoke English. We would talk world affairs and every major topic the news of the day produced. We would talk world affairs means the major topics of the world news. Whatever was interesting in the major topics, whatever was the main news of that day, we would talk about that. In this way, I was trying to get a feel of the pulse of the nation, checking opinion against official attitudes and reports. Get a feel of the pulse of the nation means to know exact feelings and attitude of people of India. He was trying to get to know the feelings of the people of India, what they thought about the attitude of government and the government reports, whatever they claim. Is it true? He was just checking opinion against the official reports and attitude. वो लोगों की नब्ज टटोल रहा था. Get a feel of the pulse of the nation means नब्ज टटोल रहा था. नब्ज टटोल रहे थे, that means not checking their health. He was checking their emotions, their feelings. Now the next slide. The route lay through one of the richest of India's agricultural areas. This was the plain of the upper Ganga river, 1,000 feet above sea level, but tropical. The route lay through one of the richest means most fertile, of India's agricultural areas. It was the plain of the upper Ganga river. It was the plain created by the Ganga and by the river Ganga, and it is the most rich, most fertile region of India, 1,000 feet above sea level. It was located 1,000 feet above sea level, but it was hot. Tropical means it had hot climate. The Ganga was brown silt. Brown silt means brown because of loose sand. Loose sand was also floating. The particles of sand were also floating in the river. Why was it silt? Because it was swollen with flood waters. Flood waters, that means it must be rainy season. The river is full of water. It is overflowing its banks. Its overflow inundating thousands of acres of land. Thousands of acres of rice fields. Rice fields were located along the sides of the river Ganga, and the water of Ganga was overflowing its banks and had entered the fields and inundated, submerged them. You know that rice needs water to be standing in the fields, and it was a very good sign that Ganga had entered the fields. To the north were jungles. To the north you could see jungles, great expanses of grass higher than the man's head. The height of this grass was higher than the man's head. Unbroken except for an occasional clump of trees. It was unbroken means you could see grass everywhere. It was not broken by any other thing. Except for an occasional clump of trees. Occasionally, here and there you could see a cluster of trees. The home of tigers, elephants, pythons and cobras. And this area was the home of tigers, elephants, pythons means AGirl, and cobras, poisonous snakes. Everywhere else there was flat land running to the horizon. And everywhere else you could see flat land running to the horizon. Horizon is the place where very far away place where earth and sky seem to meet. क्षितिज जिसे कहते हैं हिंदी में. तो क्षितिज तक you could see the field running, flat field, but dotted here and there by sacred banyan trees or the rows of pakar trees. Dotted here and there. You could see the last line of the first earlier slide. Dotted here and there by the sacred banyan tree or by rows of pakar tree. Sacred means something which is worth worshipping. So the banyan tree is worshipped in India. That is why it is called sacred banyan tree. Banyan tree and by rows of pakar trees. और there were rows means एक लाइन में लगे हुए हैं पेड़ ढेर सारे पाकड़ के, shaped like elms and having thick twisted trunks. And the pakar trees are shaped like elms. This is what author says. Why does he say so? Because he is an American. He is looking through the eyes of an American. And these trees, pakar trees, are not familiar to them, but they know elm trees. Elm trees are shaped like pakar for us, but for them pakar trees are shaped like elms. Having thick twisted trunks, and their trunks are twisted. Hot humid air was blowing in from southwest. From southwest, hot and humid air was blowing in because it was rainy season. The air was humid, full of moisture. Monkeys, some of them mothers with babies clinging to them and riding underneath, swung off trees at the stations looking for food. Monkeys. What kind of monkeys? Some of them were mother monkeys, female monkeys with babies, clinging to them. You must have seen monkeys, the baby monkeys clinging to their mother's belly. Riding underneath. This is a very beautiful expression, riding underneath. When you ride something, some animal, you sit on its back. But these baby monkeys, they cling to their mother's belly, and that is why they are riding underneath. Swung off trees at the stations looking for food. And these monkeys were swinging from tree to tree at the stations as they were looking for food. The villages we passed had walls made of mud mixed with water and cow dung. Now he describes the houses. Houses which he saw in villages. When the train passed through villages, he saw some houses. And these were made of mud. Mud means soil mixed with cow dung and water. These were kacha houses that we see in villages. Their peaked roofs were thatched. Peaked means pointed. Their roofs were pointed and they were made of thatches. Thatch means chhappar. We all know, we Indians know. But this is an American writer and he describes what thatch is. Bundles of grass tied to bamboo poles stretched across the rafters. These thatches. How they are made? The bundles of grass are tied to bamboo poles, and then these bamboo poles are put on a frame. Rafters means frame, wooden frame, to make it suitable for putting as the roof of the house. That day, the pumpkin vines that grew over them were in bloom. Flowers were blooming on the pumpkin vines. You must be knowing that in villages it is a custom. They put pumpkin vines and gourd vines on the thatches. And on these thatches they grow pumpkins and gourd. Flowers were blooming on pumpkin vines and they were hanging loosely from these vines against the over drab walls. Drab means dull because they were made of wool and made of mud. These were mud walls. They were drab, they were dull, and bright yellow flowers were hanging over them. At one station, my routine of talking with people was interrupted. Now he comes to his routine while he was traveling in the train from Delhi to Bareilly, from New Delhi to Bareilly. And he had told you that he would get down at every station and talk to people. At one station, his routine of talking with people was broken. Interrupted means broken. As soon as I alighted, as soon as he got down the train, a group of young children gathered around me. He was surrounded by young children, the group of young children. They were selling baskets. And these children, why did they surround him? They were selling baskets, hand woven. These were handmade baskets, reed baskets. They were made with reed. Reed is a kind of grass which grows in India, very tall grass, with simple designs and patterns. The designs and patterns of these baskets was very simple. They held the basket high, shouting words which I did not understand, did not know, but conveying unmistakably their desire. They held their baskets high. Why? Because these were children. They were trying to sell their baskets, and they were selling the basket to a tall man, an American. So they were holding it high so as to make him see it. Now imagine the children showing the thing to an adult. They would hold it high. They held the baskets high, shouting words I did not know. They were shouting in a language which was not known to me, but conveying unmistakably means certainly, surely, I could understand their desire. They were able to convey their sense. The next slide. These were refugee children. Refugee children. I told you in the beginning, refugees. Refugees means the children who had belonging to the parents who fled for safety. When partition between India and Pakistan was decreed means announced, ordered. When partition between India and Pakistan was ordered, hundreds of thousands of people, lakhs of people pulled up their roots. Pulled up their roots means they had to relocate themselves. From where they had settled, they had to pull up their roots. Pull up their roots means जैसे कि किसी पौधे को you change its place. अगर आप उसके place को change करेंगे तो it had to be pulled up from its root and then replanted at some other place. In the same way, they were settled in Pakistan. They had to leave everything there and come to India and settle here again and change their residences. Why did they change their residences? 9 million people left Pakistan. 9 million people left Pakistan and came to India, driven by the fear of religious fanaticism. Fanaticism is madness or excessive intolerance for opposing views or beliefs. So, the partition of India was decreed on the basis of religion. That is why there was religious fanaticism everywhere prevailing at that time. And because of the fear of religious fanaticism, the minorities were fleeing the country. Hindus in Pakistan fled the country of Pakistan and came to India. They were poor people to start with. In the beginning, they were poor. They were not very rich at that time when they were living in Pakistan. They were poorer as they began their long trek. Trek is a long and difficult trip. An unorganized migration by a group. It was not organized migration. It was unorganized. All of a sudden, they had to move. They had to start their journey. It was long and difficult journey, full of adventure. 9 million people left. They were poor as they began their long trek. And this journey, because it was all of a sudden that they had to start, they did not make any preparation. They could not take their belongings with them. So they became even poor when they started their journey. For all they could carry was a bit of food and few belongings. What could they carry with them? Some food and some belongings. Soon they were out of food, and during the course of their journey, they were out of food means their food finished soon. A few days after they started, they began to fall by the wayside from the weakness of hunger and died where they fell. After they started their journey, after a few days, their food was over, they became hungry, they became tired, and they started falling by the wayside because of weakness of hunger and died where they fell and lost their lives. Now, this is all for this lecture. We shall continue this lesson in the next lecture. Thank you very much.